Andrew J. Shawshar with the Western Journal, here with former congressional candidate Kathy Barnett. Kathy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for
Excellent.
having me on.
Of course, thank you for being with us. So we just wanted to get your take. I know you had an uphill battle with Madeline Dean, the incumbent, and so just tell us what you're doing here today. What's going on?
Yeah, like so many of us, one, just wanted to come to a free state and feel what freedom feels like. Once again, to see small businesses thriving, children going to school, the elderly is still safe and healthy, right? Which are all kind of the opposite of what's been transpiring over in Pennsylvania, where the largest number of those who have died from the COVID pandemic have been those in nursing homes after our governor and secretary of health, Dr. Levin, mandated that COVID-19 positive patients go back to school. Go into those facilities, those long-term care and nursing homes. So I'm here hanging out with fellow conservatives, taking in the free air and remembering what it feels like to see people living and doing well.
Excellent. And so, what are the major issues that you're here to discuss? Who are you here to link up with? I mean, what's driving you to have run last time around? For those who aren't familiar with you, and kind of what's driving the future of your conservative career?
Yeah, last year I was a stay-at-home mom homeschooling my children. I had just finished a 6th year of homeschooling them. I had authored my first book and was getting ready to put that out, just doing radio, television hits. And that is what I thought I would be doing, right? And then you kind of start looking around at the culture and seeing this this pedal to the metal kind of mentality of just moving us far and far left, right? And so I could begin to see so much of what was going on. And in fact, it was what I was writing about in my book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, Being Black and Conservative in America. And really, it's my journey off the Democrat plantation and kind of examining the various narratives that the left has, not just for the Black community, but for across many communities. But I used that. I was talking in my book about how what the Black community can be seen as a petri dish of what happens when the left comes in and takes control. They want all control, right? And you begin to see people, predominantly in Black communities, broken and bruised by the policies of the left. And so I was just discussing, what happens when the left comes into gets into a position to have tremendous amounts of control, and explaining that to the American people, that this is what's going to happen on the broader American culture if we allow the left to get into a position of power. And guess what happens? We have the left in a tremendous amount of control, and we see that these people are not wasting any time and truly fundamentally changing America. Instead of an America first agenda, it's an America last agenda is what we're experiencing right now, with some of the really foolish and heinous policies and ideas that are being pushed, that are being lifted up. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to run last year, is because it was really an answer to a call of looking at what was going on in my culture, understanding what the left has done in the Black community, seeing that what they did in the Black community was now spilling out into the broader American community, and recognizing that nothing good was going to come from that. And so that's one of the impetus for me throwing my hat in the race last year. And unfortunately, a lot of the things I talk to people about that would happen if the left got in control is exactly what's playing out today.
And when we talk about this, I know you've called it insanity before. I mean, what is driving folks to actually go out and vote for this? Is it a lack of folks like yourself coming out in their community and really addressing them with the conservative agenda? What is going on that we weren't able to overcome sort of that last election? What is resulting in all of these Democrats being able to maintain these seats, Nancy Pelosi being able to kind of continue to carry out those progressive policy items? What's going on with that?
Yeah, okay, you asked a lot of questions in there, and it's really good. So I'm going to just hit some of those things, right? First and foremost, the reason why the Democrats have such a problem with the Bill of Rights is because the Bill of Rights places restraints on the left, right? And the left wants control. Above all things, they want power, they want control. And when they bucks themselves up against the Bill of Rights, it restrains them. And so what we're watching in our culture right now, and in our among our legislators, is this natural disdain and of having that restraint on them. And so you see them doing things like, well, let's have a conversation in the Senate about the disinformation in the media, right? And so instead, because now they want to control free speech, they want to control the press, they don't want people getting information out, and they have no consideration that what you really do when the government gets into the business of trying to control information is that you don't have less disinformation. What you really have is more official information. So now you're looking like communist China, where the information that we get as American people is just a sanctioned official information that gets out, right? But Democrats, that understanding goes over their head because they are the elites. They know best. The rest of us just need to shut up, fall in line, and listen to what they're saying, and they want control. So that's one part of it. The other reason why, some people are just completely disengaged. I remember moving towards the end of, right before November 3rd of last year, and beginning to feel this sense that there was still way too much apathy. Even on those who would lean more in line with what I believe, I still saw a tremendous amount of apathy. And I found that to be very alarming and disturbing, because if you really understand what it is that I'm saying that the Democrat Party is about to bring into the American community, then you would be more up in arms. But instead, I saw a tremendous amount of apathy. I think now that Democrats are in control and people are really getting a taste of what it means to be under the control of the Democrat Party, and specifically the left. It's not all Democrats, but specifically the left. I think apathy is leaving. Lastly, on November 3rd of last year, I went to bed having won 76% of all of my precincts. Woke up the next morning and had not won even one of them. How does that happen mathematically, right? So from November 4th to today, we have been like a dog with a bone, unrelenting, and trying to understand what happened, and trying to understand who are these people on our voter roll. I assembled a group of about 100 people. We took a list of 1,600 that was provided to us from a statistician. We took a list of about 1,600 names. I assembled 100 people to go door to door asking some pretty innocuous questions, like, did you vote, for example, in 2020? And what we found at the end of that is, at the end of 4 days of doing that, is that 31% of all the households we went to had at least one shadow voter. That this person either did not exist, or this person, for example, one of the homes we went to, the gentleman and his wife opened the door, very friendly. The very first question that my surveyor asked was, did you vote in the 2020 election? He's very nice, provided a lot of information, and went on to begin to tell us that no, he nor anyone in his household voted because they are non-citizens. So it is illegal for them to vote. However, on my voter roll by name, we saw 4 people were registered and that all 4 voted, right? We went to other homes where there were 8 people on the voter roll, only 4 lived there. And 7 of the 8 voted, right? So we need to do a better job. Election integrity is real, and although the Democrat Party is trying to lop off the head of everyone who dares to question the integrity of this election, we have to find the courage, get a backbone, and begin to have those conversations again. Because what are we if we do not have the ability to have some level of trust that the people we are voting for, that our vote is actually counting? I mean, that's not America, right? And it doesn't take much to slip into an Afghanistan kind of situation. So those are some of the issues that need to be done. That's some of the things that happen, and the reason why we have such a lack of, the narrative that is out there is because of what I've just spoken about, with Democrats needing control and other people feeling a little bit too comfortable.
And when you talk about these controlling far-left elites, I mean, these are folks who are dangerous culturally and socially, right? I mean, you spoke on the campaign trail about, a lot of good people stay out of politics because of the mudslinging, because of the dirt and that control aspect that they love to kind of, things that they did with Brett Kavanaugh, for instance, in 2018, things like that. I mean, what brought about this boldness? Because I know that, for black conservatives, for female conservatives, there's a whole nother level of that. My mother was a female conservative, and so, when these folks come out and they say, I am a conservative, they get raked over the coals. So where does that boldness come from for you?
Yeah, listen, Black Lives Matter, unless of course it's my Black life, right? Or any other conservative Black life. And then all of a sudden, only certain Black lives matter, right? I mean, one of the things I found, on our side of the aisle, the left says we have the KKK, the white supremacists. On the far left, it's the KK Karens that we need to be very mindful of, right? It's primarily these white, progressive, liberal women who believe they know everything, right? They even know what it means to be black. The only thing you have to do is ask them. And they don't mind telling you what it means to be black, right? I call them the KK Karens on the left, right? And those are the ones we have to be very mindful for. And listen, I often tell people I'm a little black girl who grew up on a pig farm in southern Alabama. I grew up below the economic ladder. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back and a well on the side. And the way you claw your way from up under that rock is that you begin to focus on the things that matter. And the things that matter the most to me is my God, my family, and my country. And who are we if we do not have the ability to worship and to think as we please, that we cannot determine the direction that our family will go, and if our country is under assault? All three of those things that I value the most, that define who I am, is under assault. And at some point, you cannot stick your head far enough in the sand for these left elitists. So at some point, the American people need to recognize what is truly at stake here. There is we're going to have to stand up, and we're going to have to look this dragon in the eye, and we're going to have to draw the line in the sand and say no more. Otherwise, this won't take long, that we will never have another opportunity, right? And it's also one of the reasons why I've decided to throw my hat in the ring once again, and I'm weighing my options on another statewide election. On a statewide election this time in 2022. And so I ask all of your listeners to support people like me. I cannot do it by myself. I cannot write a $2 million check to my campaign and not care if I get it back or not. So if people want to have good leadership in office, and people who understand what it means to be an American, who believe that this country is the greatest country that has ever existed, and it is the greatest country that has ever existed because it was founded upon the greatest political document ever written, the U.S. Constitution. And America does not exist apart from the U.S. Constitution. Hence the reason why the left is so adamant about redefining and determining and reinterpreting the U.S. Constitution. And so when you begin to understand that, and you understand that you have people who are willing to stand up and say no more, my God, my family, my country, and no one outside of that will be able to determine who I am. And when we get back to that, and we find leaders who are willing to speak that on a national platform, we need to support them. And so I'm asking your people to support me by going to Kathy Barnett for Congress, or just kathybarnett.com, and contribute.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Ms. Barnett. We appreciate your time.
Hey guys, did you know we have a podcast called WJ Live?
The Western Journal's mission is to equip readers with the truth, and that's the same mission we have on WJ Live.
You'll hear from writers, editors, and special guests on the most important topics of the day.
You can watch us every day at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/WJ Live.
While you're there, help us out by subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss any future episodes. See you there.